Well, there it is. Hello there, WTii here, and this is a 1v1 on the map Kulas Ravine, and it's between Issi as the blue Protoss in the, what would you say? I'd say 2 o'clock position, and myself in the 8 o'clock position as the red Terran. Now, this is going to be interesting because I did start off as random. I always do play random in 1v1 unless I have a bad losing streak, but I haven't had that yet. So I'm still sticking to the random until I feel like I have to find my own race. But yeah, this map is pretty damn good for Terrans, I'd say. There's a lot of high cliffs and a lot of high ledges that are easy for Terran to get on top of, such as with Medifacts or Reapers. I mean, Reapers are extremely strong against an opponent if you are dead against them. Sort of, say for example, I'm in this position at the 4 o'clock position and your enemy's at the 2 o'clock position. Reapers can go straight up this cliff, down the cliff, straight up again and down the cliff. They get like a straight beeline path to their enemy. It's very easy with Reapers, but you've got to be a bit lucky. You can't really know where your opponent is unless you do a very early scout, so you're always taking that risk if you do decide to do that with Reapers. Because if I did, Reapers would have been fairly useless from this cross map distance. I mean, that's a very long distance. Kulas Ravine is a pretty big map and that's a long distance. So he's doing his own scout. I've got myself my barracks. As you can see, I've left a little gap there between the supply depot and the barracks, which probably indicates that I'm going to be wanting to put down a tech lab or a reactor or something to go in that space. Otherwise, of course, the barracks would have sat right next to it. You might also notice that I didn't actually build towards this bit, like built in closely towards the edge, like the choke point. Because against Protoss, I've learnt this the hard way, is if you're against like a lot of sentries and they're using force fields, they can completely and utterly nullify half your army because you've got this tight choke, and if you try to get units out, boom, force field goes down here, say for example, where you put down your supply depot to bring out your units, and you're screwed. So I like to leave a bit more of a bigger gap. I still like to block off the choke, but you might want to do this yourself, is leave a little bit bigger gap. We'll check back on that and you can see what I built there, but you'll see what I mean. Anyway, he's getting himself a gateway now. It's a very late gateway, I'd say. That must have been a 14-13 gateway, so obviously he's not too worried because it is a big map. It's unfortunate for me he's getting himself a second assimilator, because what I would have done in this situation is I'll bring the SCV to scout, see the cybernetics core, boom, go straight away and take that assimilator. I'll turn it into a refinery, that Thespian geyser, because that really annoys Protoss players. They are more gas dependent than any other race, I think, at least for the start, if they're going stalkers and sentries, because they cost a lot more gas than other race units do. So really that's unfortunate. I would have definitely nicked that. Nevertheless, cybernetics core, nothing coming out of the gateway just yet, and double assimilator says to me, wow, you are totally not going to be making any sellers anytime soon, and you're going to be wanting to go heavy stalkers, which is the right thing to do really, especially on this map. Now what I do is, as my Marauders come out, because I want to go Marauders because they're very strong against Protoss units, I will be destroying the destructible rocks. 1 second. Just had to pause there for a moment. There might be a little skip there, but I don't know. Anyway, as I was saying, I build Marauders because it's very useful against Protoss Tier 1, and I'm just going to be basically destroying these destructible rocks. 20 damage per hit with the Marauders. A little bit iffy. Not the I word that ends with D and has a B in there somewhere, as well as an L, an N, and a C and an E. But anyway, there is another tech lab going, so you can see I've left a wider choke point here. This means that he can get his units in, but then if my units are sitting behind here, they can get very comfortable shots off. I don't want to be too tightly choked, because if I want to get my units in, at least I can move them around here. I've also got 2 exit points now with 2 supply depots, so it's much more in my favour really. So I'm going to be going heavy Marauders, get myself the concussive shells and the stim pack, so I can destroy these destructible rocks. That means that I'm going to save a bit of minerals. By the time my SCV gets up there, he should hopefully be able to build a command center relatively soon. Whereas my enemy, what is my enemy doing? Looks like he's getting himself warp gates researching, and he's building the pylon at the edge here. That means he's going to be one of the heights on me, because Terran's scans are big. They're very big, but they can't cover this entire area, so you've got to be careful where you place your scans. A lot of Protoss players in this position do tend to hide buildings in this sort of corner bit, much like any other position, but we can see that a robotics facility is going down. Robotics bay rather, and that indicates that he's going to be wanting to make himself Colossus. He's doing the same, but Stalkers do a much poorer job at destroying destructible rocks than Marauders do. My Marauders are now coming out, and they should just about, there we go, Stimpack is now researched. Bringing an SCV ahead. I'm very paranoid when I play because I can't see shite. in Starcraft 2. It's very limited, the amount of look, you can barely see any sort of screen. So yeah, I always try to keep like an SCV ahead of my army, just so I don't get caught out. A lot of people are very brash and they just run their army right out there, and most of the time they get lucky and they don't get caught in a bad position. But me, I tend to look at myself as an unlucky person, so I'm always trying to take every possible, you know, option to protect my bloody army. And this is what the SCV is for. Now he's going to be coming around here. Interesting thing is my opponent didn't see me there, but he did back up. I was interested about that because I did quickly look at this replay afterwards. Now he's seeing the SCV, but he backed up and stopped destroying the destructible rock. So that was just interesting when I looked at this replay. That was a bit of a silly thing for me to do. I got a bit carried away there. Stim pack when the Marauders went mad. But the fortunate thing for me is that he's gone and brought all of his probes off. Now that in itself was a win, even if I lost 2 Marauders. The amount of income he's lost by doing that is far greater than the cost of 2 Marauders, I can tell you that for sure. So that was very fortunate for me. As soon as I saw those probes coming off, I thought, great. Hopefully just keep them on my Marauders. I don't care if I lose them all. Fantastic. So what have I got at the moment? I am sitting on an expansion that's recently gone up. I'm going to want to turn it into an orbital command when I can, because the earlier you get an orbital command, the more money, the more minerals you can bring in. Currently also swapping over my factory with my starport. So when I build my starport, I also build a reactor at the factory, and they both finish at the same time. So then you just swap them both over, and that means I can build 2 medefacts at the same time, whilst keeping up a Marauder build. So that's all sweet, really, because medefacts are going to be very, very good with Marauders. Not to mention that, like I was saying earlier at the start of this game, Kulas Ravine is very strong for Terran players, particularly because of the high ledges. Now, medefacts give you great mobility, fantastic movement across the map, and it's obvious my opponent is going to be expanding at this spot, because I saw him earlier destroying the destructible rocks, and then I think I'd check at this bit anyway. I can't remember everything that happens in it, but at some point I'd check at this bit and see there's definitely nothing there. But it's pretty obvious. Most players now in Diamond, there we go, I'm starting to send a medevac here, just to work out where he is going to be expanding, because he's going to need to expand at this point. He hasn't attacked, so that says to me that there is an economy coming, because otherwise a lot of Protoss might just do 4 gateway, go all out, build tons of stalkers, tons of zealots, tons of sentries until they've got no resources. That's when they attack the 4 gateway. But my opponent has not done that yet, and this medevac, I sent 1 medevac up here and 1 medevac here, and that clearly indicates that there is currently a Nexus building. Now he's probably seen that medevac and he's starting to move his army up, because he's a little bit worried, and so he should be. Meanwhile, I'm hanging back here with my Marauders. Don't know if he's seen it yet. Let's have a look at what he can see. He's got an observer in my base. He has now seen my expansion, and he has seen the starport and factory, but he hasn't seen these other 2 barracks building. Now what I'm going to be doing with those 2 barracks is I'm going to be building myself a couple of reactors, so I can start spamming out the marines, because I will start to get too many minerals soon due to having that extra expansion. This is a lot of problem people have. I'm also getting combat shield, by the way. My opponent's been getting Colossus. He recently just upgraded the upgrade for thermal lance, I believe it is, or one of them anyway, for the Colossi, and it basically means they get an extra free range, which is huge. If you go in Colossi, get that upgrade. It's over here. I can't remember exactly what it was called, so I'm sorry for that. Anyway, as I was saying, oh, look at this. Actually, I can't go back to that now. The action's still going on, and I'm going to be currently dropping off some medefacts, and he's just brought his Colossi to the high cliff, because he's actually moving all of his army down to the bottom left. So the Colossus actually took a shortcut there by going up the cliff, because they can walk up cliffs and down cliffs. So that was rather unfortunate for him. Now this is a bad situation because of the probes. The probes are soaking up all of my Marauder damage here, which is also good for me because he loses a lot of workers, but I'm not going to beat what he's got left. I'll try to do some sort of clever stuff by picking up the weak Marauders. It was working a little bit, but not very well when he started focusing down medic packs with his stalkers. So I think I tried to be a bit too clever for myself there, really, and practice will make perfect on that. But I did try at least.